The small spacecraft landed on the purple soil of Lumeria. Dr. Ji-hyun checked her breathing mask one last time before the door opened. She was the first human to visit this distant world, and she felt both excited and nervous. Jai stepped onto the strange planet, her boots making soft marks in the soil. 2 moons hung in the sky, one green and one blue. The air smelled sweet, like fruit and flowers mixed together. Tall plants with glowing tips swayed in the gentle wind. Deep breaths, Ji told herself, though her heart raced. As Earth's top expert in alien cultures, she had trained for years for this moment. The Lumerians had only recently joined the Galactic Alliance. Her job was to learn about them and build good relations between their worlds. In the distance, a group of tall figures walked toward her. The Lumerians looked almost human, except their skin had a soft glow and their eyes were large and completely black. They wore simple clothes made of shining fabric that changed colors in the light. The tallest one stepped forward. "I am Sun, leader of the Western tribe. Welcome to Lumeria, Earthwoman." Ji bowed respectfully. "Thank you for allowing me to visit. I am Dr. Ji-hyun from Earth's Cultural Exchange Program." Sun's skin brightened slightly. "You arrive at an important time. Tonight begins our sacred equinox celebration. The stars have guided your arrival well." Jai smiled, excited by this stroke of luck. Festivals were always the best times to learn about a culture. "I would be honored to observe your celebration." Sun made a strange sound that Ji's translator couldn't catch. The other Lumerians looked at each other. "Observe," Sun said finally. "No, Earthwoman, you misunderstand. If you wish to establish relations with our people, you must participate in the ritual of approval." Jai felt a small knot form in her stomach. Her research hadn't mentioned any ritual. "I'm afraid I don't know what that is." Sun gestured for Ji to follow. They walked toward a village of rounded buildings that seemed to grow from the ground itself. The structures glowed with the same light as the Lumerian skin. "Our society is led by women," Sun explained as they walked. "For thousands of years, we have protected our culture through the ritual of approval. Any outsider seeking alliance must pass through the ritual." Jay nodded, taking mental notes. "And what does this ritual involve?" They stopped at the edge of a large circular area in the center of the village. Other Lumerians watched them with curious eyes. "You must please every woman elder in the tribe," Sun said simply. Jai almost stumbled. "Please them? In what way?" Sun's eyes widened slightly. "Your mind goes to strange places, Earthwoman. You must earn their favor through demonstrations of your character, wisdom, and skill. Each elder will set a challenge for you to complete." Jai relaxed slightly. "That sounds reasonable. How many elders are there?" 12, Sun replied. 4 tests of wisdom, 4 tests of creation, and 4 tests of spirit. If you fail any challenge, the alliance between our worlds will be rejected." The knot in Ji's stomach tightened again. The pressure of an entire diplomatic relationship now rested on her shoulders alone. "When does this ritual begin?" Ji asked. "At moonrise," Sun said, pointing to the green moon that was already climbing the sky. "You have 2 hours to prepare yourself." Jai was led to a small hut where she could rest. Inside, she found a bowl of strange fruits and a container of glowing water. She sat on a soft cushion and tried to calm her racing thoughts. Her communication device beeped. It was her supervisor back on Earth. "How's first contact going?" asked the voice of Director Kim. "There's a complication." Jai explained about the ritual and its importance. Director Kim was silent for a moment. "This is unexpected, but not unusual. Many cultures have tests for outsiders. Do you think you can handle it?" Jai looked out the small window at the alien landscape. "I have to try, but why wasn't this in our research?" The Lumerians only shared basic information with the Alliance. Director Kim said, "They're notoriously private. That's why your mission is so important." After the call ended, Jai reviewed her notes on Lumerian culture. Their society valued harmony, wisdom, and respect for nature. They had advanced biotechnology but limited space travel. Women held all positions of leadership, with men focusing on arts, child rearing, and environmental care. A soft chime sounded outside. She looked up to see a young Lumerian woman at the door. "I am Neri," she said with a small bow. "I will help you prepare for the ritual." Nari brought a set of Lumerian clothes. The fabric felt cool against Ji's skin and adjusted to fit her perfectly. "The ritual is not meant to harm you," Neri said as she helped Ji dress, "but it is meant to truly know you. My people have learned that technical knowledge and power do not make good allies. Character does." "I understand," Ji said, though her nerves remained. As the green moon reached its peak, Ji was led to the central circle. The 12 elders sat in a semicircle, their skin glowing brighter than the others. Behind them, the entire tribe had gathered to watch. Sun stepped forward. "Dr. Ji Hyun of Earth, do you accept the ritual of approval? Do you understand that you will face 12 challenges, and that failing any will end our alliance?" Ji took a deep breath and stood tall. "I accept." The first elder, a woman with silver hair and intense eyes, moved to the center. "I am Hana, keeper of knowledge. My challenge will test your wisdom." Jay nodded respectfully, ready to begin the first test. The fate of Earth's relationship with Lumeria now rested in her hands. Elder Hannah led Ji to a small round building at the edge of the village. Inside, soft blue lights cast gentle shadows on the walls. In the center sat a strange object on a stone table. "This is the puzzle of perspectives," Hannah said, gesturing to what looked like a cube made of shifting crystal. "For centuries, our brightest minds have tried to solve it. Now it is your turn." Jai approached carefully. The cube changed colors and patterns as she moved around it. When she reached out to touch it, the cube responded to her fingers, reorganizing itself into new shapes. "What is the solution?" Ji asked, studying the ever-changing puzzle. Hannah's black eyes revealed nothing. "You must discover that yourself. You have until the small moon crosses the center of the sky." Jai stared at the puzzle for a long time. She tried matching colors, aligning patterns, and even spoke to it, but nothing seemed to work. The crystal continued to shift and change with every touch and movement. As time passed, Ji felt sweat on her forehead. This was the first test, and she was already stuck. She stepped back and took a deep breath. Something about this puzzle felt wrong. "Elder Hannah," Ji said finally, "is there actually a solution to this puzzle?" Hannah's expression remained neutral. "Why do you ask this?" "Because the puzzle changes with every perspective. From where I stand, it shows one pattern. From where you stand, it shows another. Perhaps the lesson is that not all problems have a single answer." A small smile appeared on Hannah's face. Many visitors spend days trying to find one correct answer. They never consider that wisdom begins by questioning the question itself. She nodded slowly. "You have passed the first test." Relief flooded through Ji's body. She had passed, but just barely. She needed to think more like a Lumerian. The second elder, Yuna, waited for Ji beside a pool of glowing water. "I am the keeper of history," Yuna said. Her skin had patterns that looked like ancient writing. "My challenge is simple. Tell me the history of your world in a way that will help us understand if humans are worthy allies." Jai hesitated. Earth had thousands of years of history, wars, achievements, disasters, and triumphs. How could she possibly summarize it all? She knelt beside the pool. "May I?" she asked, pointing to the water. Yuna nodded, curious. She dipped her finger in the glowing liquid. To her surprise, the water responded to her touch, creating ripples that formed shapes. She focused her thoughts, and the water created a simple map of Earth. "Like Lumeria, Earth began as a wild place," Ji said. "Our earliest ancestors lived close to nature, much as I believe yours did." The water shifted to show simple human figures. "We made many mistakes as we grew. We fought each other over land, beliefs, and resources. The water showed conflict, then changed again. But we also created beauty and knowledge. For the next hour, Jay used the responsive water to show not a complete history, but honest one. She showed human achievements alongside human failures. She explained how Earth had nearly destroyed itself several times before learning to work together. We are still learning, Jay concluded. That's why we reach out to other worlds. Not to conquer, but to understand and grow together. Eunice studied Jay's face. Most visitors show only their greatness and hide their flaws. You have shown both. She touched Jay's shoulder. You have passed my test. The third elder was a small woman named Domai. Her challenge took place in a garden filled with strange plants Jai had never seen before. I am the healer, Domai explained. My test is one of practical wisdom. 3 of our children are sick with common ailments. You must create remedies using only what grows in this garden. Jai looked at the unfamiliar plants in alarm. But I don't know your plants or your illnesses. Domai pointed to 3 children sitting quietly nearby. One has fever, one has stomach pain, and one cannot sleep. The plants will tell you their purpose if you listen carefully. Jai approached the garden cautiously. The plants seemed to react to her presence, some leaning toward her, others away. She remembered her training. When in doubt, observe the locals. Do you use these plants often? Jai asked Domai. Every day. Jai noticed worn paths in the garden leading to certain plants. She also saw that some plants had fresh cutting marks. These must be commonly used. Instead of guessing, Jai asked the children directly about their symptoms. Then she watched how the plants responded when the children approached them. A tall blue flower bent toward the child with fever, while a plant with round leaves seemed to call to the child with stomach pain. For the sleepless child, a moss-like growth glowed softly. Jai carefully harvested small amounts of each plant. Using tools Domai provided, she prepared simple remedies based on how she had seen Lumerians prepare food earlier. I believe these will help, Jai said, offering her creations to Domai. The elder examined each remedy carefully, smelling and testing them. Your methods are strange, but your results are correct. You watched, listened, and learned instead of assuming you knew best. She nodded. You have passed. By the time the 3rd test was complete, Jai was exhausted. But there was no time to rest. The 4th elder, a stern-looking woman named Bo-Ra, was already waiting. I am the logic keeper, Bo-Ra announced. My test will determine if your mind is disciplined enough to be trusted. Bo-Ra presented Jai with a series of increasingly complex problems involving Lumerian mathematics, ethics, and decision-making. Each question seemed to have hidden traps and multiple layers. Jai worked through them carefully, sometimes asking clarifying questions. When she reached a problem that seemed impossible to solve with her knowledge of Lumeria, she admitted her limitations instead of guessing. I don't have enough information to answer this properly, Jai said. I would need to learn more about your values and systems before making such an important decision. Bo-Ra's stern expression softened slightly. Knowing the boundaries of your knowledge is as important as what you know. You have passed. As the 4th elder departed, Sun approached Jai. You have completed the challenges of wisdom. Rest now, for tomorrow brings the challenges of creation. They will test not just your mind, but your hands and heart as well. Jai nodded, her body tired but her spirit determined. The true difficulties, she suspected, were still ahead. Jai woke to the sound of soft music. Sunlight filtered through the walls of her hut, which seemed more alive than yesterday. She touched the wall and felt it respond to her warmth, changing color slightly. Nari entered with a small bowl of food. You did well yesterday, she said. Today we'll test different skills. Jai ate quickly. The food tasted like sweet potatoes, mixed with something like cinnamon. It gave her energy almost immediately. Outside, the village was busy. Lumerians worked on various crafts and projects. Children played games that seemed to involve changing the colors of plants with their touch. Elder Minna waited for Jai in an open area filled with strange-looking looms. Thin, shining threads of various colors hung from frames that seemed to grow from the ground. "I am the master weaver," Minna said. Her fingers were long and elegant. "For thousands of years, we have told our stories through the things we create. Today, you will tell yours." Minna handed G several spools of thread. They felt alive in her hands, almost like they were breathing. "Create a tapestry that shows your world to ours," Minna instructed. "You have until midday." Jai approached the loom cautiously. When she tried to thread it the way she would on Earth, the thread slipped away from her fingers. After several failed attempts, Jai sat back, frustrated. Nearby, a young Lumerian girl worked on a small project. Her fingers barely touched the threads, yet they moved as if following her thoughts more than her hands. Jay watched carefully, then tried again. This time, she held her hands just above the threads and focused her intentions. To her surprise, the threads responded, moving slightly. Over the next few hours, Jay learned to work with the living threads rather than control them. The tapestry began to take shape. Earth's blue oceans, green forests, and the diverse faces of humanity. The threads seemed eager to help once she stopped fighting them. When Minna returned, she studied G's work carefully. The tapestry was simple but honest, showing both Earth's beauty and its scars. "You struggled at first," Minna observed. "But then you listened to the materials instead of forcing them to obey. This is the beginning of creation." She nodded. "You have passed." The second creative challenge came from Elder Sue, a Lumerian with patterns on her skin that seemed to shift like sound waves. "I am the sound keeper," Sue explained. She led G to an area filled with strange instruments. "Music connects all living things. Create a melody that bridges our worlds." Jai had played piano as a child, but these instruments were completely foreign. Some looked like twisted shells, others like living plants with hollow centers. When G touched a shell-like instrument, it made a sound that changed based on her emotions rather than her actions. The plant instruments responded to her breath from several feet away. G closed her eyes and thought of Earth's sounds. Ocean waves, wind through trees, the bustle of cities, and songs from around the world. She tried to recreate these feelings through the alien instruments. At first, the sounds were chaotic and unpleasant. The Lumerians, watching, winced slightly. G stopped and took a deep breath. Again, she was trying to control rather than collaborate. She started again, this time letting the instruments guide her. She discovered that when she hummed softly, the plant instruments would respond in harmony. When she felt certain emotions, the shell instruments created complementary tones. Slowly, a strange but beautiful melody emerged. Not quite Earth music, not quite Lumerian, but something new between them. Sue listened with closed eyes. When G finished, the elder smiled. "You created not by imposing your ways, but by finding the middle path. You have passed." The third challenge came from Elder Jun, the builder. She was taller than most Lumerians, with strong hands and serious eyes. "We build with life, not against it," Jun explained, leading G to an empty area at the edge of the village. "Create a shelter that can withstand our evening storms." Jai looked at the materials provided: living plants, flexible bones from some creature, and a paste made from local soil. Nothing like the concrete and steel she was familiar with. The sky was already darkening. She would need to work quickly. G's first attempt was too rigid. She built a structure like an earth tent, but when a small wind came, it collapsed immediately. Her second try was stronger but still failed when Jun tested it with pressurized water. Desperate, Jay looked around the village at the existing buildings. They weren't built so much as grown, curved and flexible, moving slightly with the wind rather than standing rigid against it. For her third attempt, Jip planted the living materials in a circle, bending them to create a dome. She used the paste to encourage them to grow together, creating a living lattice. Inside, she added support where needed, but allowed the structure to remain flexible. When the storm came, her shelter swayed and bent, but did not break. Water ran off its surface in beautiful patterns rather than forcing its way inside. Jun inspected the shelter after the storm passed. You learned to work with our world rather than impose your own methods upon it. You have passed. The final creation challenge came from Elder Yuri, whose role Je couldn't quite translate. Her skin glowed with intricate patterns that seemed to tell a story. I am the pattern keeper, Yuri said. All life follows patterns. Show me that you can see the patterns that connect us. This challenge was the most abstract. Yuri provided no materials or instructions, just a small clear space and time until sunset. Ji thought deeply. Throughout the day, she had learned that Lumerian creation was about cooperation, not control. Their art, music, and buildings worked with nature rather than dominating it. She gathered small stones, plants, and drops of the glowing water. Carefully, she arranged them in a spiral pattern, with earth materials she carried, a button, a strand of hair, a coin, integrated among the Lumerian elements. As the sun set, the pattern began to glow. The spiral turned slowly on its own, creating a map of connections between Earth and Lumeria, showing how, though different, they followed similar patterns of life, growth, and community. Yuri studied the creation in silence. Finally, she looked up at Jai. You see the connections. You understand that we are different notes in the same song. She touched Ji's hand. You have passed. Sun approached as darkness fell. You have completed the challenges of creation. Tomorrow brings the most difficult tests. The challenges of spirit. Rest well, for they will test not what you know or what you can make, but who you truly are. Ji didn't sleep well that night. Strange dreams filled her mind. Visions of Earth and Lumeria, blending together in ways that made no sense. When she woke, the air felt different, heavier with meaning. Nari brought her a special drink instead of food. Today you will need clarity more than strength, she explained. The liquid tasted like nothing Jai had ever experienced, both bitter and sweet at once. The first spiritual elder, Dai, waited for Ji at the edge of a misty forest. Her eyes were older than her face suggested, as if she had lived many lives. I am the dream walker, Dai said softly. My challenge cannot be solved with your mind or hands, but only with your truth. Dai led Ji deep into the forest. The trees here were massive, with bark that glowed faintly. The mist grew thicker until Ji could barely see a few steps ahead. In the center of this forest is a sacred pool, Dad explained. Find it, look into its waters, and return to tell me what you see. Jai looked around nervously. Are there any dangers I should know about? Dai's expression remained calm. The only dangers are those you bring with you. With that cryptic warning, Dai stepped back and vanished into the mist. Ji walked carefully through the forest. The mist seemed to respond to her emotions, growing thicker when she felt afraid and clearer when she felt confident. She realized this was part of the test. After what felt like hours, Ji found the pool. Its surface was perfectly still, reflecting the strange trees above. Ji knelt and looked into the water. The reflection shifted, showing not her face but images from her life. She saw herself as a child, hiding her test scores because she was ashamed of doing better than her friends. She saw herself as a student, taking credit for a group project she had barely contributed to. She saw herself accepting this mission, not just for science, but for fame and recognition. Tears fell from Ji's eyes into the pool. The water rippled, showing newer images, her helping a colleague when no one was watching, her standing up for what was right even when it cost her genuine wonder at the universe's mysteries. When Ji returned to Dai, the elder asked, "What did you see?" Ji could have lied. She could have claimed to see only noble things. Instead, she told the truth. I saw my failures and my small moments of courage. I saw my selfish desires and my genuine hopes. I saw myself. Dai nodded slowly. Many see what they wish to see, or what they think we wish to see. You saw the truth and spoke it. You have passed. The second spiritual challenge came from Elder Min, a Lumerian with eyes that seemed to look through Ji rather than at her. I am the pain bearer, Min said. My challenge will test your capacity for empathy. Min led Ji to a large circular building. Inside, 12 Lumerians sat in a circle. They looked ordinary except for a strange glow around their heads. These people carry memories of our greatest sufferings, Min explained. War, disease, loss, and heartbreak. Place your hands on any 3 heads and share their burden for a moment. Then tell me what you learned. Jai approached the circle nervously. She chose an older male first, placing her hands gently on his temples. Instantly, pain flooded her mind, not physical pain, but the agony of watching children die from a plague while being powerless to help. She gasped but didn't pull away. She felt the full weight of his memory before letting go. The second Lumerian shared the experience of their world nearly destroying itself through environmental collapse. The third shared the personal grief of losing a beloved partner. When it was done, Ji could barely stand. Tears streamed down her face. What did you learn? Min asked quietly. Ji took a deep breath. I learned that suffering is universal. Your people have faced the same kinds of pain as humans, despite our different worlds. And I learned that sharing pain makes it bearable, even across species. Min touched Ji's wet cheek. You did not just observe their pain. You felt it as your own. You have passed. The third spiritual challenge was presented by Elder Wu, whose skin was covered in what looked like star maps. I am the fear seeker, he said. My challenge is simple but difficult. Face your deepest fear. Wu led Ji to a small dark room. Enter. Stay until you choose to leave. What happens inside will not physically harm you, but few complete this challenge. Jai entered the room. The door closed behind her, leaving her in complete darkness. At first, nothing happened. Then slowly, the darkness took shape. Jai saw herself aging alone, her life dedicated to work, but empty of connection. She saw Earth rejecting Lumeria because of her failure, leading to centuries of isolation. She saw herself returning home in disgrace, her life's work meaningless. Hours passed as Ji faced fear after fear. Some were small and personal, others vast and world-changing. The darkness seemed to pull them directly from her mind. When Ji finally emerged, her face was pale but calm. Wu studied her carefully. What did you learn? He asked. That fear shows us what we value, Ji answered. I fear failure because I value contribution. I fear rejection because I value connection. I fear being wrong because I value truth. She looked directly at Wu, and I learned that facing fears makes them smaller. Wu nodded. You have passed. The final spiritual challenge came from Matriarch Sun herself. She waited for Ji on a high hill overlooking the village. This is the challenge of choice, Sun said. It is the most important test. Sun held out 2 crystalline objects. In my right hand is everything your people wish to learn about our technology. In my left is the true history and spirit of our people, our art, our mistakes, our dreams. You may choose only one to take back to Earth. Jai looked at both objects. What happens to the one I don't choose? It is not offered again, Sun said simply. Ji thought carefully. Technology could be developed many ways, but understanding another culture, their heart and spirit, that was truly irreplaceable. I choose the left hand, Ji said finally. The spirit of your people. Sun smiled for the first time since Ji's arrival. You understand that how we live matters more than what we build. You have passed the final challenge. As they walked back to the village, Sun explained, the challenges of spirit show us who people truly are, beyond their skills or knowledge. Tomorrow, we will share our final decision about Earth's place in our future. Dawn broke over Lumeria, with both moons still visible in the purple sky. Jay stood by the window of her hut, watching the village come to life. In just 3 days, she had been tested in ways she never imagined. Her body was tired, but her mind felt clearer than ever before. Neri arrived wearing formal clothes with patterns that seemed to tell a story. It is time, she said. "The council awaits." Jay followed Nari to the center of the village where all 12 elders sat in a perfect circle. The entire tribe gathered around them, their skin glowing with excitement. In the center was a single chair made of living wood. "Please sit," Matriarch Sun said, gesturing to the chair. Jai sat down, feeling the eyes of hundreds of Lumerians upon her. The chair felt warm, almost comforting. "Dr. Ji Hyun of Earth," Sun began, her voice carrying across the silent crowd. "You have completed all 12 challenges, no small achievement." The elders nodded in agreement. "Before we share our decision," Sun continued, "we must tell you the truth about this ritual." Jay felt her heart beat faster. "What truth?" "For thousands of years, we have used the ritual of approval to test those who wish to join our community," Sun explained. "But the true purpose is not what visitors think." Elder Hannah spoke next. "The challenges were not designed to see if you could please us or prove Earth's worth." "Then what was the purpose?" Ji asked. "To see if Earth sends people who can adapt without losing themselves," Elder Yuna said. "To see if humans can respect differences without trying to change them. To see if you could collaborate without needing to control," added Elder Mena. Sun nodded. "Many species have come to Lumeria seeking alliance. Most approach with demands disguised as offers. They see our technology and want it. They see our resources and desire them. We created the ritual to reveal true intentions," Elder Day explained. "Those who try to dominate the challenges fail. Those who lie about what they see in the spirit pool fail. Those who choose technology over understanding fail." She thought about her approach to each challenge. She had not tried to impose Earth methods, but had adapted and learned. She had been honest about her flaws. She had valued understanding over advantage. "So did Earth pass the test?" Ji asked quietly. Sun looked at each elder, who nodded one by one. "Yes, but there is more to share." From behind her chair, Sun brought out a small container that glowed with soft blue light. Inside was what looked like a seed, but it pulsed with energy. "This is our greatest gift," Sun explained. "The living library containing our bioharmonizing technology. It can help restore damaged ecosystems, clean poisoned waters, and heal the wounds humans have created on your planet." Jiz's eyes widened. "This is incredibly generous." "It is not a gift," Sun corrected her. "It is the beginning of a true exchange. We do not offer this to those who would take without giving in return." "What does Earth have that Lumeria needs?" Ji asked, genuinely curious. Elder Boris smiled. "Your perspective, your art, your different way of solving problems. And most importantly, your willingness to admit mistakes and learn from them." "We are not perfect," Sun added. "Our society has solved many problems but created others. We have technology, but have lost some creativity. We have peace but risk becoming too rigid." Jai began to understand. "So this isn't about one world being better than another. It's about what we can learn from each other." "Exactly," Sun said. "The greatest exchanges happen between equals who recognize their differences as strengths, not weaknesses." The container was placed in Ji's hands. It felt alive, warm, and cool at the same time. "There is one condition," Sun said. "You must return to Lumeria 3 times each Earth year to share how our knowledge is used and to bring Earth's knowledge in return. A true exchange, ongoing and equal." Jay nodded solemnly. "I accept this responsibility." Sun touched Ji's forehead. "You came here to study us like interesting specimens. You are leaving as our first true human friend." The ceremony concluded with a celebration. The Lumerians taught Ji their dances, shared their foods, and asked endless questions about Earth. Children gave her small handmade gifts. Even the most serious elders joined in the festivities. As the celebration continued, Nari sat beside Ji. "You know, many visitors come to the ritual thinking it's about proving their strength or cleverness. What do you think it's really about?" Ji asked. Nari smiled. "Learning to be small in the right way." Jai looked confused. Small. Yes, big enough to stand firm in your truth, but small enough to make room for other truths beside your own, Neri explained. Those who come thinking they are the center of the universe always fail. She thought about Earth's approach to other worlds, often assuming superiority, focusing on what could be gained rather than shared. Later that night, as Jay prepared for sleep before her journey home tomorrow, Matriarch Sun visited her one last time. Your leaders will be pleased with what you bring back, Sun said, but the most valuable thing you return with cannot be seen or measured. What's that? Ji asked. A new way of thinking, Sun answered. You will never approach another world or person the same way again. Jay nodded, knowing it was true. I came to teach but ended up learning. I came to study but ended up connecting. That, Sun said with a smile, is the truest exchange of all. The next morning, as Ji's spacecraft lifted off from Lumeria's surface, she looked down at the village growing smaller below. In her secure container sat the biological library that might help save Earth's environment. But in her mind sat something even more valuable, the understanding that true connection comes not from power or control, but from the willingness to learn and change together.